Have you ever told yourself, next month will be better? Not in a dramatic way. Not like you're drowning, just quietly. You swipe your card for groceries. You pay rent. You cover the subscriptions. Maybe you even move a little money into savings. On paper, everything looks fine. But at the end of the month, somehow, you're back at zero. And you can't point to one reckless purchase. There wasn't some big mistake. No luxury vacation, no sports car, no financial disaster. Just drift. You feel responsible. You work hard. You're not lazy. So why does it feel like you're running in place financially? Most people think staying broke is about income. They think if they just earned a little more, everything would click into place. And income does matter. Of course it does. But I've seen people double their salary and somehow feel exactly the same level of pressure. Because the habit that keeps people broke isn't overspending. It's unconscious spending. And that's a very different thing. We've been trained to look for dramatic villains in our financial story. Bad investments, debt, inflation, the economy. And those things absolutely play a role. But the quiet habit that keeps people stuck is much more subtle. It's the habit of not noticing. Not noticing how small increases in lifestyle slowly absorb every raise. Not noticing how convenience purchases become permanent expenses. Not noticing how "I deserve this" slowly becomes "I need this." It's not stupidity, it's autopilot. Think about how most financial decisions actually happen. You don't sit down with a spreadsheet before ordering takeout. You don't run long-term projections before upgrading your phone. You don't calculate opportunity cost when you move into a slightly nicer apartment. You respond to how you feel. You're tired, so you order in. You're stressed, so you upgrade. You're comparing yourself to someone else, so you stretch. And none of those decisions feel irresponsible in the moment. That's what makes this habit powerful. It doesn't feel like self-sabotage. It feels normal. There's a psychological pattern behind this. When your income increases, your brain adjusts surprisingly fast. The first few months feel exciting. You breathe easier. You maybe upgrade one or two things, and then something subtle happens. Your new level of spending becomes your baseline. What used to feel like a treat now feels standard. What used to feel optional now feels necessary. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, but you don't need the term to understand it. It's the reason your first apartment felt amazing, until it didn't. The reason your first salary felt huge, until it didn't. Your nervous system recalibrates. And here's where the habit becomes dangerous. If every increase in income is automatically matched by an increase in lifestyle, your financial position doesn't improve. Your numbers change, your stress doesn't. You might be earning 30% more than you did 3 years ago. But if your expenses are 30% higher too, your margin is the same. And margin is what creates peace. Not income alone. Margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what you need. Without margin, even a good salary feels fragile. You check your bank app not because you're broke, but because you're uncertain. You feel one unexpected bill away from tension. One car repair away from frustration. That constant low-level anxiety isn't about poverty. It's about zero buffer. And zero buffer is usually the result of this one habit: spending without awareness of trajectory. Trajectory is the part most people miss. It's not about this month's budget. It's about the direction of your lifestyle over time. Are your fixed expenses slowly rising each year? Are your normal standards creeping upward? Is convenience replacing intention? For example, imagine two people who both get a $500 monthly raise. Person A increases their apartment budget by $300, adds $150 in new subscriptions and services, and lets the rest disappear into higher daily spending. Person B increases their lifestyle slightly, maybe by $150 total, and keeps the remaining $350 as margin. 3 years later, their lives look similar on the outside, but internally, they feel completely different. Person A feels stretched. Person B feels stable. Same income, different habit. The habit isn't greed. It isn't irresponsibility. It's unconscious expansion. There's also a social layer to this. We live in an environment that constantly resets what normal looks like. Social media doesn't show people's savings accounts. It shows upgraded kitchens, vacations, cars, and curated weekends. You don't consciously decide to compete, but your standards adjust. You think, I work hard too. I'm at that age. I should be further by now. And that pressure doesn't feel like vanity. It feels like progress. But sometimes what looks like progress is just a more expensive version of the same stress. A lot of people aren't broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because they've trained themselves to immediately consume whatever new capacity they create. Every raise gets absorbed. Every bonus gets allocated before it even arrives. Every increase in flexibility becomes a new obligation. And this isn't a character flaw, it's a default setting. If you don't consciously interrupt it, it runs automatically. The turning point usually doesn't happen when someone gets rich. It happens when they notice the pattern. When they realize, I've been upgrading my life faster than I've been upgrading my stability. That awareness alone changes decision making. Because once you see it, you start asking a different question. Instead of, can I afford this? You start asking, what will this do to my margin? That question is powerful, because almost everything is technically affordable if you stretch enough. The real issue isn't affordability, it's flexibility. Will this expense lock me into needing this level of income forever? Will it reduce my ability to say no to a job I hate? Will it shrink the space between paychecks and pressure? When you start thinking in terms of margin, money becomes less about status and more about optionality. Optionality is freedom, not yachts, not viral business success, not extreme wealth. Just the ability to make decisions without panic. The next time your income increases, and it probably will at some point, pause. Don't upgrade immediately. Let the new income sit for a few months. Feel what it's like to have excess capacity. Notice how your nervous system responds when your account balance trends upward instead of flat. There's a subtle psychological shift when money starts accumulating faster than it's disappearing. You sleep differently. You think longer term. You stop checking your banking app compulsively. That shift doesn't require extreme frugality. It requires intention. Another practical move is auditing fixed costs, not just daily spending. Most people obsess over coffee, but the real weight is in rent, car payments, insurance, recurring subscriptions. Fixed expenses determine your baseline stress. If your fixed costs are high, your life becomes rigid. Every month demands a certain performance level from you. Lower fixed costs don't just save money, they increase breathing room. And breathing room reduces emotional reactivity. This isn't about living small forever. It's about earning the right to expand slowly. There's something powerful about knowing you could upgrade, but choosing not to yet. That choice builds confidence, not performative confidence, quiet confidence. You might still enjoy nice things. You might still travel, upgrade tech, eat out. But you do it from surplus, not from stretch. If you see yourself as someone who always ends up at zero, you'll unconsciously recreate that reality. Breaking the habit requires a new identity. Not I'm rich, just I'm someone who protects margin. Over time, those small choices compound. You don't wake up one day financially transformed. You wake up less anxious. You wake up knowing that if something unexpected happens, you'll handle it. The habit that keeps people broke isn't stupidity, it's speed. The speed at which lifestyle expands to meet income. Slow that down and something changes. You create space. And space changes how you think. If you're feeling behind right now, that doesn't mean you've failed. It might just mean your lifestyle expanded faster than your stability. That's reversible. Margin can be rebuilt. It happens slowly, imperfectly, on your own timeline. You don't need to be extreme with money. You don't need to be fearless. You just need money to stop feeling like a constant threat. That shift begins when you protect space between earning and spending. Because that quiet gap, that margin, is where peace lives. And peace is worth more than another upgrade. If this made you reflect on your own patterns, that's enough. Not guilt, not pressure, just awareness. Progress with money rarely looks dramatic. It looks like fewer emergencies, fewer panic decisions, more calm conversations with yourself. You don't need perfection, you just need intention. And paying attention is already a step forward.